I recently saw this article, ChatGPT might show more empathy than doctors when you ask it medical questions. Researchers apparently at UC San Diego, they took a randomly drawn sample of about 200 patient questions from the Ask Docs subreddit. Then both human doctors and ChatGPT answered the questions. And then evaluators looked at which of the responses they liked better. They preferred the response by the computer nearly 80% of the time over the human doctor's answer. In large part, it says, because the AI demonstrated more empathy for what the person was going through. And then we get this explanation as to why. Lead author John Ayers says it's pretty obvious why. It's not constrained by time. You could take a simple query like, I have a headache, can you help me? And you'll immediately see that ChatGPT says, I'm sorry you have a headache. The doctor knows that, they feel that, they just don't have time to say it. Which, look, that's a real situation that doctors are apparently rushing all the time. But it also is just kind of an explanation. If the AI is more polite, then people are going to prefer that. Maybe this is something that we could learn from. But anyway, look, there's obviously concerns, Nina, about people going to AI to answer medical questions. It can tell them something that isn't true, and it will be just as certain of its answer as something that is well supported. And the issue is that we are in a country where a lot of people don't have access to the healthcare, and especially mental health care, that they should. And so I think I could see a lot of people potentially turning to ChatGPT rather than spending 50, 100, hundreds of dollars to go to a doctor. And maybe that'll be fine in a lot of cases, but sometimes it can be disastrous.
And it will be. And the question you asked, should people fear AI? Anything that human beings have created is gonna have a flaw at some point. It's just a matter of time of when that flaw catches up. So absolutely, we should be concerned, maybe not totally fearful, because I don't want anybody living in total fear. But your point about not having universal healthcare in this country and how it can push people to think that that type of prognosis is the end all be all can end up being dangerous for those people. Now, lastly, about the AI being more polite. Hell, the AI ain't under a lot of pressure. They ain't got to deal with people and their personalities. They don't have to deal with home life, work life balance. The AI got a leg up, so to speak, no pun intended, on the flesh and blood doctor. So spare me on how polite the AI is being held. The AI ain't got all the problems that human beings got. So that's why they can afford to be polite all the time.
The weird thing is that I mentioned this to my production team when we were talking about this. So it's polite, okay, it can be polite. The weird thing for me is, and I don't know if you've been using ChatGPT much, I'm polite to the AI. And I not even I say please way more than you need to say to a thing that doesn't exist. But there's just something about it where you start to see it as a person, and I'm a little bit worried about that. Once this thing has a face or whatever, imagine the attachment people are gonna have. It's nice to have someone treat you politely.
You're not by yourself, hell. I argue with Siri. Siri, I argue with her because she pops up all the time. That makes me nervous. I ain't push you, Siri. Why you jumping into this conversation, Siri? Goodbye, Siri. So.
Yeah, you ask Siri a simple question, and then all of a sudden Siri wants to tell you about this new feature or something. I just wanted the one thing. Sit down, shut up. Anyway.
I hear you, John. I hear you.
Okay, I think, no, we have a couple minutes. So I'm just gonna briefly mention, so we've been talking about how AI could get involved in our healthcare system, i.e. replacing it because it's not accessible to most people. It's also already impacting our criminal justice system. A man in Detroit spent 30 hours in jail after AI technology misidentified him in a criminal case. He said, I was arrested for no reason. Basically what happened is in 2018, security cameras captured a person in a store stealing watches. Years later, this is in 2020, a black man named Robert Williams was arrested in front of his wife and 2 young daughters for the crime, which he had nothing to do with. Even worse, he wasn't informed of the reason for his wrongful arrest. He had to spend 30 hours behind bars. He was hauled away in front of his family, who had to wonder, is this based on something? They didn't say that it was just AI that had said that it was him. Now, following his wrongful arrest, the chief of the Detroit Police Department says there are a number of checks and balances in place to ensure ethical use of facial recognition, including use on live or recorded video is prohibited, supervisor oversight, and weekly and annual reporting to the Board of Police Commissioners on the use of the software. Oh, good, that reassures me. I don't think it reassured the guy who spent 30 hours in prison without being told why. So maybe spare us your oversight, because it clearly isn't stopping the system from contributing to the sum total of injustice in America. Any thoughts, Nina?
Yeah, they need some different kind of oversight, John. People could lose their jobs. I mean, let's put this aside. These types of things have very real life consequences. That person not being able to go to work, that person's reputation impacted, and then all of a sudden you find out they were wrong. Well, the damage has already been done. And there are studies out there that point out very clearly that this facial recognition technology, some of this AI does have biases within it that definitely targets Black people and other people of color more regularly than anybody else. So I wonder why. So it goes back to that anything that human beings create, we need to watch out for. There will be flaws. So dependent totally on this technology should be a non-starter, especially within the legal system.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.